Hi, fellow traders. I hope you guys had a great hump day. Mine was spectacular, which I absolutely needed after the Monday and Tuesday I had. Um, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. I want to share another one of my Mr. Miyagi quotes. You trust the quality of what you know, not quantity. And it's pretty much self explanatory, what he means. You know, it's not about how much you know, it's about whether you know what you know well. And, we talked about this last week when we talked about first stand, then learn fly, which was another one of his quotes. You have to master the level that you're on. And you have to make sure that what you learn to the fullest before you move on to the next. It's kind of like the way school is set up. You go to first grade, you learn certain things in first grade, um, and there are skills you need to master in order to be successful in second grade. And same thing for second grade to go into third grade. Now, just like school, you have students that are exceptional and they pick things up quick, and they may move to a certain level faster than the other person, but then they get stuck at that level. And the whole thing is, it doesn't matter how fast you go or somebody else goes faster than you. You got to make sure you master the level that you're on so that you have the skills and everything needed to get, to that next level. And what I mean is, I give you this as an example. Let's look at LOW, LOW, the trade from today. And let's say, and what I do when I teach brand new traders, the very first strategy I teach them is the opening range breakout breakdown. That's the most simple strategy that you can learn to trade, and it's very effective. It's been around forever, and it's going to stay around. I have people ask me all the time, what's the win rate on it, or what's the success rate on the strategy? The reality is you don't know, because it all depends on the person trading it. If you get some jackass that's not trading it right, then they're going to have a really bad ratio. If you got somebody that knows what they're doing and they're trading it correctly and they're choosing the right stocks to implement the strategy on, then they're going to be knocking it out of the park. So it's all about how well you know the strategy. And this is so simple that it you just can't really make a mistake on it, even though we do. I make mistakes on something this simple as well. But the thing is, we have to master this. And I'm giving, my traders, and this is the exercise that I give new traders, and the one that we're working on now. And it's really simple. You wait the first 5 minute candle to print. This is the first 5 minute candle. Okay, we've got the 5 minute low and the 5 minute high. So we're going to mark that. Okay, and then all we're doing when you first learn this, you're just picking a stop and a target. So I'm just using, you have a 50-cent stop and a dollar target. Okay, and all we're doing is trying to help you learn the strategy, learn how to enter without question. So as soon as it breaks the low, you enter. As soon as it breaks the high, you enter. And you either stop out at your 50-cent stop, or you take profit at your $1 target. And once the trade is done, you move on. Okay, and that's all you do. The chart is clean. You're not worrying about moving averages. You're not worrying about giving the trade room to work. You're not worrying about pivots. You're not worrying about Bollinger Bands and all this other garbage. You're not worrying about that because you're not at that level yet. You have to master this. And I promise you, if you can't come in and master this, you will never be consistent trading. If you can't master executing a very simple trade plan consistently, and you start to get antsy and want to do other things, you're not going to have the discipline you need that's going to help keep you in this industry for a long time. So this not only helps you learn the strategy and how to execute trades, which is highly, highly important. It's helping you learn discipline. It's helping you learn patience. All of these things you're going to need to master in order to move to this next level, to where you're really starting to put things together and you're starting to trade. Because when you get lost and you get all fouled up, which is going to happen, you can always come back to this and build yourself up. You're going to have a reboot point that's going to help you throughout the rest of your trading. So let's move on. Okay. The next candle opened. It pushed up a little bit and then it started selling off. Once we broke the opening range low, we get in. Now I know this was a little bit late, but there was something else that was in the way, which is garbage, because you can see it cost me about 25 cents on my entry. But you enter, let's say we got in on time. If we got in at 108.50, then 107.50 is our target. And then 109 is our stop. And see, this already went up and tested 109 and sold off. But all we did was we put in a 50-cent stop when we got in. We got a dollar target. And we're done. The trade is done. You have executed the trade plan perfectly. And if you do this every day for like 30 days, 60 days, you're going to establish the patience, the discipline, and the mindset that you need in order to execute trades. So when we start adding size, okay, here, let's say we did this with 100 shares. Okay, and we got $1. So we made $100. Now we're going to go to 500 shares. We've grown our account. We're going to go to 500 shares. So we made $500. We risked $250 to make $500. And we've locked in 5 and we're ready to move on. But you have to gradually, get to that point. You just can't run to it. I don't care how much money you have. If you don't trade with the right mindset and you're able to execute trades at the level you need to execute them, you're not going to last in this industry. And I was sharing today, I was sharing when back in 2005, when I was on fire and I opened up my Speed Trader account and I was ready to go, fully funded. And over the course of a month and a half, I lost $1,500 because I was trading with a totally different mindset, because I thought I had money and I could do different things. So I had to go back to the beginning and build myself back up. I could have made $100,000 that year because it was October and I was at 78 grand, and I could have done it, but that just killed me. So you can't just run. Just because you got money doesn't mean you can just jump and start trading. You've got to develop the right mindset, and it takes time. So you have to master that first. Here's another example. Here's SE today. Okay, this was on our watch list too. Here's the opening range candle. Pretty huge, right? Opening range candle. Next candle opens, sells off a little bit. I mean, the next candle opens. It pushed up, triggered an entry. Okay, so we get in let's say we got in 1985. All right, our stop is going to be 1935. This is 50 cents. So we're risking 50 cents to make $1, right? So we get in, our stop is here, our target is $1, a point up here. So look at what this stock does. It just, bounces around, it chops around. How many of you would have just taken your money off the table and just lost, faith in it? Think about it. Would this make you just quit? Or do you have the willpower to allow your trade plan to work? And this is, like I said, this is a simple trade plan. You can't get any simpler. I mean, if you want to risk 20 cents to make 40 cents, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. But I just set it at 50 to $1. So we risked 50 cents. Never did hit our stop. And it took most of the day for it to get a point. So what would you have developed in this trade? It will help you develop patience. And you'll see that, hey, as long as this trade is still in play, I still have a chance to get to my goal. So you learn the patience to allow the trade to continue to work. And yeah, if you only traded 100 shares, then yeah, you waited all day for $100, but you gained something much more valuable. You gain this education. And if you continue to do this throughout the 1 to 3 months that you need to do this, when you start trading, full steam ahead, this is going to be like second nature. You're not going to even, it's not going to even faze you. Even if you cry about it. I bitch, moan, and complain all the time if something's taking too long. But the reality is, unless it gives me a sign or signal to get out, I'm just going to let it work. And that's how I develop my patience. You guys always ask, how did you develop that? How are you so patient? This is it. Okay? This is how we do it. Let's look at one more. SRPT. This was on our scan this morning, on our watch list. Okay, here's the opening range, the high, the low. Okay, this candle opened up here, but it never broke the high. Okay, it never broke the 5-minute opening range high. There's a lot of people that will anticipate that it's going to go. So they jump in this and it sells straight off. So you don't want to anticipate. Every time you see me lose on these, it's because I anticipated I jumped in too early. Okay, here we selling off. Bam, right through the 5-minute opening range low. We jump in. Let's say we got in at 149. Our stop is back up here at 149.50. And here's our profit target at 148. So we get in. It quickly hits our profit target. We're out of the trade. We're done. It goes back. It sets up again. So you got another trade. You get in, use the same 50 cents to make $1. Bam, you hit the target again. You're done. You just had 2 5-minute opening range trades. Now after 10 o'clock, it's done. You don't trade the opening range anymore. After 10, this becomes a different setup. More than likely, it'll become a trend continuation or a bounce, or maybe a VWAP trade or something. But, that's totally different. So between the open and 10 o'clock, you were able to take 2 opening range trades on the same stock. Both would have net you 1 point. Now, do they all work like this? No, they don't all work that way. Some aren't going to work. But for the most part, this is what you're going to run into. This is what you're going to get. So, well, we'll go to that one in a minute. So hopefully you guys understand. Well, I know this was a long-winded explanation to, that quote, but it made me think about how important it is for you to master these fundamentals first before you start running and trying to make trades and learn more complicated strategies. Because if you can't execute a simple strategy like this consistently, it's going to be very difficult, practically impossible, for you to consistently make money. All right, so this trade is HTZ. This is a mini-me trade. But, he trades off of a 3-minute. He does a 3-minute opening range. I've got him doing some testing for me on the 3-minute versus the 5-minute. But, so that's why it looks kind of crazy. But here's the entry. The first target, nailed it. Second target, which was, let's see, 28.40. This was the first target, which was 40 cents. The next target was can't remember, 1980, and then down through red to green. That move there was nice. And here's just piecing it out. Okay, how did he learn how to do this so early on? You know what he did last summer? This is what he did last summer. And wrote a trading business plan for a school project. Okay. And this didn't take long at all. But when you buy into the process and understand the fact that, hey, I've got to master this basic skill so that I can execute. That's the difference between him and a lot of you guys who are struggling to try to get here. It's execution. And that's all in your mind. It's the mindset you bring in to trading to be able to execute, like this. So, and I'm sharing this is all I give him is $3,000. $3,000 a month. That's it. And, this day, 4/27/11. So it works. And it'll work if you work. You got to do the work. All right, so just want to remind you, this Roadmap to Success special, go to the website, check it out. I'm not going to run all the way through it. I've done it a couple times before. If you want to get in on this and you want to learn what you need in order to get to where you need to be in trading, or where you want to be in trading, come join us. I think this is the best opportunity, the best deal that you're going to get anywhere. All right, so first trade today was low, LOW. This was my opening range trade. There was a pivot here that I waited for to get through. And that's why this was a little bit late. I don't have it marked on here, but it was marked on my Thinkorswim chart. But, it's where I got in. First profit target. And just like clockwork, the market decides it doesn't want to follow through for me, so it came back and stopped me out. But I got his ass today. I waited. It established under this 50, and so I got back in. Now, I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell I was doing here. I kind of had some numbers mixed up in my head. There should have just been one cover here, but for some reason, I don't even remember now. I mean, my head just wasn't clear. But I ended up taking two, and this one was even before. I think this popped up on me when I was trying to cover here on the 90. I mean, on the 100. But, just kind of messed this up a little bit. But we did get, I did get a nice move down. Was able to cover some here. And I still left a piece on just to see if we were going to reject and come back. But as we came back, I went ahead and added. And I rarely add because every time I seem to add, the trade doesn't work for me. But I added back here, got back in 200 shares versus the 300. And, here I shorted 175. So I started with 300 initially, but I didn't go back to the full 300. I just went back and ended up with 200 shares. And when this thing failed to go and we started to, you could see strength coming in, I ended up dumping it for a little bit of profit. But usually whenever I add, it doesn't work. And this was perfect. I mean, this was a perfect place to add. But, if the market's going to do something different, it's going to do something different. And you can see we started that uptrend from here. We bounced, made a higher low. Here's another higher low, another higher low, even though it was a little, slightly higher. And then we got the big push. But you could tell it was grinding up. So it didn't make any sense to continue working this thing. But really solid trading on this, with the exception of, my brain fart here. But I think really solid trading on this. Coming back after the rotten day yesterday. And if you guys haven't seen that video, make sure you go check it out. There's some things I talk about in there about my rough day. All right, so the recovery. I got this in twice. I don't know how the hell did I do that. But this is the same trade. Somehow I put the same trade in twice. But this is the same trade. I guess I changed it because I couldn't get everything in the way I wanted it to. But 354.92, not bad execution on this. So I'm really happy with that. Now the big deal today was the earnings trade on TDOC. I gave you guys 3, and I gave you examples of the 3 that were trading crazy that I didn't want to mess with because, I got to get a feel for it. Even though I know and I have a good idea of what direction the stock's going to go in, I have, if I see the bears, buyers and sellers fighting throughout the day, then I expect it's probably going to happen at the close, and it may do something odd. And I don't want to take that risk. Okay, so this one was the cleanest chart out of the 3, that I showed you. And everybody that, sent me PMs about it, you guys got, hit the nail on the head. But you can see what I look for this thing to run up into the close. I look for it to claim these moving averages and run up and show some strength going into the close. Now here, I accidentally bought it versus shorting it. It happens because I'm in my car at this point, and I got a little laptop that I'm working with, and sometimes the little mouse thing gets messed up, and it ended up clicking by. So once I realized that, I didn't realize it until I got ready to put my target in, and then it was like, so I was like, So I went ahead and had to flip out of it, and just in the nick of time, because not long after I was able to get it squared away, you can see right here, I was able to get it squared away. And in a couple of minutes, that's when this thing took off. And I was able to cover some down here through this 62 level. Honestly, I was looking at 64 for my first target. This was going to be the first target, but this thing, it just skipped it. I mean, it came all the way down and it was around 62, 63. And so I just went with this level here and was able to cover some here. You know, here's the daily 20. I was looking at the daily 50 for the next target, and it hit that. And you know, and you guys were you know, watching this as we were doing this. But the interesting part on this is when this got down here and we were watching it, and I pointed out, if we were watching time and sales, I wasn't even watching level 2. I was watching time and sales. And all of a sudden, you saw a ton of orders going through at 54.04. I mean, a ton of buy orders going through, and the price wasn't changing. So to me, that's telling me that we are hitting a hell of a supply zone, and this thing might be turning around and rocketing up. So I only had 25 shares left, so I went ahead and took it off because of what we saw here. You know, so if you were still in the chat, you know, you saw exactly what I was talking about. And, you know, this is where reading price action and being able to read the time and sales tape is going to help you, you know, when you learn how to scale out. And let's say you're holding a position, or you're waiting for a stock to hit your target and it doesn't hit. You know, this is the progression. You know, it starts with the basic one target, and then you add 2 targets where you scale out, and then you're able to add 3. You're able to build a more complex trade plan for that simple strategy, and you're able to make some money off of it. So, you know, really solid day. You know, this just ate up the $1,200 I lost yesterday. I mean, just ate it up. And this is the biggest day that I've had in a long time in this account. Just amazing. So I've got the wire out tomorrow since we're getting ready to start the month over again. But this has been an amazing, amazing month. You know, being that I wired out last week, and I thought I jinxed myself after yesterday, but it looks like that jinx got killed. So we'll be wiring out again tomorrow and resetting. And I said I was going to trade half size tomorrow because I am not giving anything back. I do not want to give another dime back. And I know this is the wrong mentality to have, but I have to give myself a pass on this because this is really exciting, and we're going on a family trip to Pennsylvania again. I don't know if you guys remember, we went last year up there to visit some family and to support, you know, our nephews and it's always a real good trip, a real good family time. So we're headed up there. So I can't be more happy for the weekend. And I'm not going to screw it up tomorrow by trading stupid. So I'm going to be half size and I'm going to be taking it real easy for the rest of this week. So Friday's going to be a short day for me because we're hitting the road anyway. So, I probably will do the same thing I did last month. Just not trade that Friday and then wait till Monday and just start the month off. So, we'll see how it goes. But sorry guys for being long-winded today, but it was something that I just had to get out. So you guys take it easy. Have a great night. And I will see you guys first thing in the morning.